Welcome back to In Pit Lane, live across Melbourne on Channel 31. Well, joining us now is one of Australia's top racing drivers. He's a V8 supercar winner. He's the man who gets the very fortunate position of driving the two-seater Minardi at the Formula One Grand Prix every year. He's ran in Formula One cars. He's driven just about everything. He wears many hats. One of the hats that he's wearing is as the General Manager of Motorsport Development for the Confederation of Australian Motorsport. So if you love hats, this is a segment you're going to want to see. This is Cameron McConville. Cam, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks, Brett. Nice to be back. I think it's been probably, what, 15 years since I was last here. I had a lot less grey hairs back then. Well,
you and me both. I mean, but let's talk about the role that you're running at the moment. I mean, it's what is your role?
Well, it's a long title, but yeah, look, I'm overseeing the development pathways for CAM. So I joined late October last year, where I was previously at Porsche. So I'd had an introduction to category management. So when the CAMS board took on Formula 4, there was a role created to oversee that introduction into Australia, but also the CAMS Academy. So Carl Reindler had been steering the ship on driver development as such, which up until Formula 4 came on board was overseeing the junior and elite academies. So my role is to, I suppose, look after the academies, and at the moment what's taking up a lot of my time is getting F4 up and running.
Well, you mentioned Formula 4. I suppose one thing I'd want to ask is, what is it that you're expecting Formula 4 to be able to do that Formula Ford supposedly wasn't?
Well, look, I think Formula 4, the strength of Formula 4, if you like, is its relevance globally. And Formula Ford, I was fortunate enough to run and win the championship a long time ago. But it's been less relevant, certainly on the European front, over the last few years. And I think when you look at what the FIA have tried to create with Formula 4, and I mean, the guy that's created Formula 4 is Gerhard Berger, effectively. He's the head of the Open Wheeler Commission, or the Single Seater Commission, and he wanted something that was slicks and wings, but cost effective. And I think, look, Formula Ford still serves a great purpose. It's still a great category. It's still very strong, no doubt about that. But I think for a karter now, the problem we've had with Australia is that we haven't had that relevance. Even our Formula Ford category has had for a long time a different engine or a different tyre. So we need the next Daniel Ricciardo to race in something that allows him to hit the ground running in Europe, and that's where Formula Ford, certainly the FIA believe, and CAMS agree, that it's going to fill that void. Is
that how you're going to judge the success of this in terms of who goes to, say, Formula One? Is that ultimately the mark of success, or are there other ways that you can judge success?
Oh, I think there's a number of ways, that we can judge it, and I think clearly commercially, companies like Jayco that just announced today they're supporting Todd Kelly, they've seen the relevance and the benefit, of jumping on board. But if you look at the government, okay, so motorsport, where does it fit in the whole landscape of getting government funding? We're right down the bottom. They see, I suppose, getting another Formula One driver or winning a world championship as I suppose a measure of CAMS and Australian motorsport success. So as far as the Australian Sports Commission is concerned, we need to get more drivers into Formula One. So that's where Formula 4, we believe, will assist in that whole landscape of getting kids out of karting into a category, giving them the grounding, and hopefully getting them over to Europe as soon and as young as we can.
That's probably the thing where it all sort of falls over, though, in terms of getting them from Formula 4. I mean, what's the difference between a kid doing really well in Formula Ford and going overseas? It's not so much that they're coming out there with Formula Ford experience. It's basically they get there and they just don't have money.
Oh, look, I think whether you're going to go to Formula 3, Formula Ford, or Formula 4, trying to find the money to go overseas is difficult. I know that. I've experienced it. I've experienced that firsthand. And we're also coming from a very touring car centric country. Let's be honest. Where a lot of the kids now are focusing on V8 supercars, which is great. You have a look at all the Formula Ford champions over the years have gone on to V8s, other than say Mark Webber, Daniel Ricciardo. We've got Joey Mawson overseas now. So the talent pool is so big. But I think what we've got to do is give them the best preparation that we can. And we believe that doing more with karting, which CAMS are doing and doing more of than we have previously, having talent scouts at go-kart. So if you follow that AFL model, mentors, talent scouts, putting them through I suppose a complex training camp, and then getting them into a category that is relevant, that is going to give them the best chance. Whether we can't physically go and find the money for them, unfortunately, but if they can go to Europe and say, I've won the Australian Formula 4 Championship, it's going to have far more relevance, and I personally believe it'll give them the best experience. I mean, I've driven the car myself, and I think a lot of the karters, in fact, there's Zane Goddard at the moment, Will Brown, a couple of really good karters, have had one day in the car, and they're within 0.4 of a second of the current Formula 4 champ. So it's not too taxing to jump out of karting and jump into this car, get your head around it, and hopefully make do a good job of it.
The thing is all these kids who are going through Formula 4, only a very small percentage of them are going to be able to go overseas.
Yep.
What's the next step? I mean, logically, the next step is Formula 3, and we've heard today that CAMS have withdrawn the Gold Star status from Formula 3 for this year. So what's the long-term plan for Formula 3? Is there a long-term plan?
Well, I mean, to be honest, Brett, you need to talk to Formula 3 about that. I mean, we have a category management agreement with Formula 3. But you've got to remember, it is a separate business and a separate management company. That
does raise the point, though. I mean, they've also is that CAMS is now effectively in opposition to other category managers. I mean,
well, we don't see it that way. I think
they do.
Yeah, look, they may, but I can say that the Gold Star has been, and I haven't been fortunate to win it, but it's a very prestigious award. And I think you'd agree. So, is it fair that 6 people or 8 people at the previous F3 round are competing for what I see as the most prestigious Australian award in motorsport? We believe that it's probably a good time to give it a spell and to be fair to the Gold Star. Now, that's not a disrespect to Formula 3. I think, the FIA certainly would like to see Formula 3 continue, but if you have a look at what's happening in Europe, there's only one strong Formula 3 championship at the moment. That's the Euro F3. Costs €750,000 to run, and it's got a full grid of 36 cars. But domestically, Formula 3, even the British Formula 3, which has been the yardstick for so many years, has fallen away. So, perhaps over time, the Formula 3 management, with certainly the support of CAMS, can develop a regional F3, whether it's an Asia-Pacific series. It might only be 4 or 5 rounds, but a lot of the cars are old now. So again, unfortunately, Formula 3 has become less relevant to what's happening in Europe.
First round of Formula 4 is taking place at Townsville in July. What are the numbers like at the moment? And is it true that the deal with V8 Supercars insists on a minimum number of cars before they give you a race?
Well, any category that runs on V8s has a support category agreement, and in that agreement there'll be certain quotas or KPIs, and one of those is a grid. Now, at the moment, so we had 9 cars run at our test day last week, and anyone can turn up to one of our test days and count the cars. I'm confident we'll have 11 cars running at our test day next week. At the moment, we've only got 13 cars in the country, so we've got another shipment of 6 arriving shortly. And look, I'd be confident, I am confident that we'll have around 14 or 15 on the grid at Townsville. That well and truly ticks the box from a V8 supercar point of view. But I think what's important about Formula 4 is that it's around for the long term. This is a 7-year plan for these cars. So we're not about to pull the pin if we only have 13 cars on the grid at Townsville. You'd have to say, if we have 13 cars on the grid, that we're the second healthiest open wheeler category. And to get something up and running from scratch is like any business, is going to take time. But look, it's slowly gaining momentum. And I think now that we've got cars here, we're out there testing already. I'm already fielding new inquiries every day, which is great.
Just quickly, there has been rumours around that drivers are being offered free rides for that particular round. Is that the case?
Yeah, I don't know. Look, I don't spend my days on social media. I'm too busy, Brett, trying to get this category up and running and make sure all the commercial side of it's ready to go. Absolutely not. Why would we buy cars and hand them over for free? It just can't stack up. So, and you can't run a category that way. You've got to be transparent. Everyone pays the same lease fee, if you like, and that's exactly what we stand by, and it'll work over time.
Okay, well, good luck. We'd like to see open wheelers obviously doing well in the country. Good luck down at Phillip Island in a couple of weeks' time, and we'll see you down there. But for now, Cameron McConville, thanks for joining us in Pit Lane.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll be taking a break, and we'll be back right after this break.
More power, better fuel economy, a cleaner, more efficient engine. They're just a few of the advantages of having your car tuned on a Dynotech dyno. To find your nearest Dynotech workshop, go to dyno.com.au. Dynotech by Dyno Dynamics.